from R4 Single Family Residential to RG3 Residential General Sector 3. Number 10, 22-0-1727, case number Z-22-61. Location 2866 Memorial Drive, Southeast. The ordinance is to rezone from R4 Single Family Residential to MR4B Multifamily Residential. Number 11. 22-0-1728. The case number is Z-22-62. The location is 597 Auburn Avenue Northeast. The ordinance is to rezone from HC2OC SA2BL Martin Luther King Jr. Landmark District Sub Area 2 Beltline Overlay to HC20C SA4BL Martin Luther King Jr. Landmark District Sub Area 4 Beltline Overlay. Number 12, 22-0-1729, case number Z-22-63. The location is 2695 Browns Mill Road, Southeast. The ordinance is to rezone from RLCC, which is Residential Limited Commercial Conditional, to C1 Community Business District. Number 13, 22-0-1730, case number MRPA 22-03. Location 2421 Paul Avenue Northwest. The ordinance is to grant a certificate under the provisions of the Metropolitan River Protection Act for a single family dwelling with 2 accessory structures. The motion is to refer items 9 through 13 to ZRB and Zoning Committee.
There's a motion to refer 5 items to ZRB and Zoning. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Hillis. Is there any discussion on the motion to refer these items? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to refer 22-0-1726, 1727, 1728, 1729, and 1730.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Please vote. The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to refer carries.
Mr. President, we're moving on to items held in committee, and item number 15 is a legislation related to a property annexation. The companion legislation for this property annexation advanced out of CDHS and FEC favorably by unanimous votes last week. I request that council go into committee of the whole so that this related piece of legislation can be adopted today as well. So therefore, Mr. President, I make a motion to go into committee of the whole. Will another member please second this motion?
Seconded by there's a motion by Councilmember Overstreet, seconded by Councilmember Winston to move into committee of the whole. We can do this via unanimous consent if there's no objection. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Mr. Clerk, please sound the count on the motion to move into committee of the whole.
Unanimous consent of members present is 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. We're now in committee of the whole.
Thank you. Item number 15, legislative number 22-0-1425. The case number is Z-22-59. The location is 1195 University Drive, Northeast. The ordinance is to zone newly annexed property to R4, Single Family Residential Zoning District. The motion is to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt 22-0-1495. It does need a second. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Hillis. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt? Again, we're in the committee of the whole. Hearing none, let's move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt 22-0-1425 in committee of the whole.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
Yes, 10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
Okay, and with that, I make a motion to exit committee of the whole.
There's a motion to exit committee of the whole, seconded by Councilmember Hillis. We can do this via unanimous consent. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Mr. Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent to move out of committee of the whole.
Unanimous consent of members present is 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. We are now back. We've exited committee of the whole. We're now back in regular council session.
Okay, thank you.
I would now entertain a motion to adopt.
I motion to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt 22-0-1425. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Winston. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt 22-0-1425.
Please hold. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
That concludes the zoning committee. Thank you.
Chair Overstreet. Next, we'll move to the report of the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee. Chair Hillis.
Thank you, President Shipman. We have 3 items. First is item ordinance 22-0-1696, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis to amend Chapter 18, Article 1, Section 18-11 to provide for the more reasonable and efficient enforcement thereof through the reduction of the amount of time which an animal must be persistently or continuously make noise in order to be considered a nuisance from 20 to 10 minutes, to provide that for purposes of the enforcement of the nuisance animal ordinance, persistently or continuously shall mean nonstop utterances for 10 consecutive minutes with individual interruptions of less than 20 seconds at a time during the 10-minute utterances and for other purposes. The motion out of the committee is to adopt.
There's a motion coming out of committee to adopt 22-0-1696. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt 22-0-1696.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 9 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention.
Councilmember Waits, can you explain your abstention?
Yes, sir. As a pet owner of multiple pets, I just wish to not vote on this legislation.
You consider that a conflict of interest?
I think it's unnecessary legislation, and I don't support it.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to either vote against or for. I'm not sure there's a conflict, which is the only reason under code you can abstain.
Okay. It's a no.
Mr. Clerk, please reflect Councilmember Waits' vote as a nay.
Populating vote. 9 yeas, 1 nay.
9 yeas, 1 nay. The motion to adopt carries.
Thank you. Next item is 22-R-3866. Resolution by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits, Atlanta Bakhtiari, and Antonio Lewis, authorizing the mayor as his designee to repurpose the Atlanta City Detention Center into a diversion and crisis center to include mental health, drug, and alcohol treatment services, space for nonprofit service providers, and offer transitional housing, and to name the center the John Robert Lewis Health and Wellness Center, and for other purposes. Motion out of the committee is to file.
Motion coming out of committee to file 22-R-3866. Since it's coming out of committee, it doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to file? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file 22-R-3866.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to file carries.
Next item is 22-R-4043. Resolution by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits requiring the City of Atlanta to commission an independent appraisal of the Atlanta City Detention Center to determine the true market value of the building and property in order to make informed decisions regarding the highest and best use of the asset and funds allocated to operations at the site, and to identify funding for the creation of a Center for Equity As suggested in the final feasibility report of the Reimagining AC/DC Task Force and for other purposes, I understand there is an amendment to this, correcting some language. In short, it changes the word requiring at a few spots in the resolution to requesting, and also corrects what would otherwise be a scriber's error in one of the resolved clauses. The motion, or I will make a motion to amend.
There's a motion to amend 22-R-4043. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Norwood. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? Councilmember Waits.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the author is supportive of the amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to amend 22-R-4043.
Please hold. The vote is open. The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to amend carries.
So now the motion before us will be to adopt as amended.
There's a motion to adopt 22-R-4043 as amended. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Overstreet. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt as amended? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt as amended 22-R-4043.
The vote is open. The vote is now closed. 9 yeas, 1 nay.
9 yeas, 1 nay. The motion to adopt as amended carries.
Thank you. That concludes the PSLA report.
Thank you. Next up will be City Utilities Committee. Chair Shook.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have two items, first of which is 22-0-1683. This comes forward favorable on condition that we receive a substitute that reformats the method of procurement, and so I will move to bring the substitute forward. Should I first read the caption?
There's a motion to bring forth the substitute on 22-0-1683. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Boone. Is there any discussion on the motion to substitute? Councilmember Hillis.
So, Chairman Shook, just how did we go about receiving the information requested from Watershed? I don't recall seeing it. I know it wasn't at the committee meeting, but...
Okay, are you referring to our second item, which is the resolution requesting greater clarity into the funding source?
No, I just thought that this was approved on condition that we receive some information from Watershed.
As I recall, 1683, the condition was, and there was a lot of discussion in committee between procurement and Watershed, is that they restyle the method of procurement, and so procurement and Watershed huddled and during the meeting and came back, and they reached an outcome that we agreed with.
Okay.
Why did we adopt the substitute?
Other discussion on the motion to bring forth the substitute? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to substitute regarding 22-0-1683.
The vote is open. The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to substitute carries.
Should I read the substitute caption? Thank you. This is an ordinance by utilities to ratify services rendered in connection with a co-op purchase, the agreement of which is listed, cellular and wireline router services with AT&T Mobility National Accounts, utilizing a Georgia Utilities contract, number of which is indicated here, beginning July 1st of 2022 through the execution of the First Amendment to the agreement to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to the agreement to extend the term of the agreement retroactively effective from July 1 of this year through June 30th of 2024 with 3 one-year renewal options on behalf of Watershed in an amount not to exceed $180,000, and add Atlanta Information Management as an authorized user in an amount not to exceed $16,497.40, all contracted work being charged to and paid from, etc. I will move approval as substituted.
There's a motion to approve a substitute 22-0-1683. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Bond. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt as substituted? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt as substituted.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Please vote. The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt as substituted carries.
Thank you. Next and last is 22R4336, resolution by utilities authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise the Third Amendment to the agreement, which is indicated here, emergency right-of-way maintenance with Russell Landscape LLC on behalf of Public Works to add funding for continued right-of-way maintenance services in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000, all contracted work to be charged to and paid from, etc. This comes forward favorably on a 4-to-1 vote on condition that by today we would have received additional and clarifying information about the funding of this, and that has been provided, and so I will move approval.
There's a motion to approve 22-R-4336. Is there a second? Well, I suppose it doesn't need a second. Let me reverse myself. It doesn't need a second because it was favorable on condition coming out of committee, and the condition has been met. So, Councilmember Hillis, discussion of the motion to adopt.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chairman Shook. I know there are a lot of issues raised by some of my colleagues at this committee meeting about these emergency procurements, these emergency contracts. There's this one, and then there's another one with another company that is not in front of us right now, but this has been a quote-unquote emergency for well over a year, and they have not been sent out to competitively bid. The commissioner himself admits that there are quality control issues, which we are having to throw resources at. So I just think we need to hear a lot more than excuses. We need to hear a plan, and I know they've apparently submitted a trigger package for the whole departmental review of efficiencies. But again, this could have been competitively bid out at least 6 months ago, if not longer. So we need to hear more about how the city is going to move in the position of maintaining the right-of-ways. So in the spirit of wanting to hear more from the commissioner about a plan, I'm going to make a substitute motion to refer this back to committee.
There's a motion to refer by Councilmember Hillis. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Lewis. We're now in consideration of the motion to refer. Is there any discussion on the motion to refer?
Now,
Mr. Shook.
yeah, and I don't disagree with anything Mr. Hill has said, and in fact, I would go so far as to say the entire committee agrees with the objections and concerns that he raises, and there were others that were raised as well. I'm not a fan of committee of the whole, nor do I tend to get overly panicked about the idea of services not being done that I know people would like to see being done while we take an additional 2 weeks. But, I mean, that's the only concern that's in the back of my mind. I mean, they're already behind schedule. Conditions are subpar. I get that.
Additional discussion on the motion to refer. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to refer 22-R-4336.
Please hold. The vote is now open. The vote is now closed. Ten yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to refer carries.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Next up will be the Community Development and Human Services Committee. Mr. Amos will be presenting the report today.
Thank you, Mr. President. Standing in place of our chair, Chair Dozer, who is actually under the weather, so let's wish him a speedy recovery. Actually, I have two reports. One is ordinance for second reading. It's 22-0-1711, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis to amend the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinance Part 3, Land Development Code, Appendix E, Atlanta Housing Code of 1987, Article 5, Judicial Interim, Section 56H, lien waiver and release to ensure that the circumstances which would permit the constitutional waiver and release of such liens are properly reflected therein and for other purposes. It comes forward. I move to adopt 22-0-1711.
And just to clarify, Mr. Amos, it was forwarded without recommendation, so you're making the motion to adopt, correct?
Correct, yes.
So I'll need a second in order to go forward with the motion to adopt. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Councilmember Hillis. There's a motion to adopt 22-0-1711. Is there discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt 22-0-1711.
The vote is open. The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
Mr. President, I have one resolution, Resolution 22-R3252, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos recognizing the Rodney Cook Senior Park Advisory Council and commending them for the work they have done to engage the community and develop and implement policies and procedures that will ensure the Rodney Cook Senior Park will continue to be an inviting and vibrant destination in the Vine City English Avenue community for many generations to come and for other purposes. It comes out of the committee with recommendation to file. I move to file 22-R-3252.
There's a motion to file 22-R-3252. It comes out of committee that way, so it does not need a second. Is there any conversation on the motion to file? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file 22-R-3252.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Please vote. The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to file carries.
In a report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next up will be Transportation Committee. Councilmember Lewis will be making the report.
Thank you, President, for bringing me up. Good afternoon, everyone. Please turn to page 52 on your agenda for the report of the Standing Committee of Transportation. Council President, may I read item number 1?
Yes, please proceed.
22R4249, item 1, page 52, file, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Margaret Mitchell Drive Northwest and Mill Drive Northwest an always stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. My colleagues, My colleagues, this item is a duplicate of ordinance number 22R4177, which was adopted at the September 6th full council meeting. Motion is to file.
There's a motion to file 22-R-4249 coming out of committee. Is there any discussion on the motion to file? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file. Oh, Madam Deputy Clerk, my apologies. Please open the vote on the motion to file.
Thank you. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 9 yeas, 0 nays.
9 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to file carries.
Council President, this concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Finance Exec. Presenting the report today will be Councilmember Shook.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item. This is an item that's up for filing today. It is 22R3704. This is a resolution by members Waits, Amos, Winston, Lewis, and Bond, requesting the mayor of the city of Atlanta or his designee to identify funds in the amount of $1 million to support the Black Music and Entertainment Walk of Fame development and for other purposes. Again, the motion's to file.
So motion to file coming out of committee 22-R-3704. Is there any discussion, on the motion to file? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file.
The vote is open. Will all members please vote? The vote is closed. 9 yeas, 0 nays.
9 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to file carries.
That is all.
Thank you. Finally today, Committee on Council, Chair Boone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, everyone. Please turn to page 58 on your agenda for the report of the Standing Committee of Committee on Council. Council President, may I sound items 1 through 7? These communications were found favorable in today's Committee on Council meeting.
Without objection, please proceed.
Item number 122-C-5136, a communication from Christopher Leitner, President of Atlanta Bar Association, submitting the appointment of Ms. Jenna Lee to serve as a member of the Alcohol Technical Advisory Group, ATAG 3. Item 2, 22-C-5143, a communication from council members Liliana Batiera, District 5, Alex 1, District 6, and Matt Westmoreland, Post 2 at large, appointing Mr. Eric Tuksnick to serve as a member of the Atlanta Urban Design Commission in the real estate professional category. This appointment is for a term of 3 years. Item 3, 22-C-5145, a communication from Liliana Batiera, District 5, appointing Ms. Lena Williams to serve as a member of the Commission on Aging. This appointment is for a term of 4 years. Item 4, 22-C-5146, a communication from council members Liliana Batiera, Alex 1, Howard Shook, Mary Norwood, and Matt Westmoreland, appointing Mr. C. Dylan Nurse to serve as a member of the Atlanta Commission on Veterans Affairs. This appointment is for a term of 2 years. Item number 5, a communication from Mr. Pierre Gaither, Executive Director of the Atlanta Board of Education, submitting the appointment of Ms. Stephanie Flowers to serve as a member of the Atlanta Beltline Affordable Housing Advisory Board. This appointment is for a term of 2 years. Item 6, 22-C-5149, a communication from Mayor Andre Dickens appointing Dr. Lakeisha Hallman to serve as a member of the Atlanta Development Authority of Directors, Invest Atlanta. This appointment is for a term of 4 years. Item number 7, a communication from council members Liliana Batiera, Alex One, Howard Shook, Mary Norwood, and Matt Westmoreland, appointing Mr. Joseph Klein to serve as a member of the Atlanta Beltline Tax Allocation District Advisory Committee. This appointment is for a term of 2 years. These items were favorable. Motion to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt items 1 through 7 coming out of committee. Doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt these items? Given that these are communications, we can do this via unanimous consent. Is there any objection? Madam Deputy Clerk, please, Councilmember Winston.
There's one item that I would like to pull. I would need to make an abstention.
Okay. So, which item would you like to take separately outside of unanimous consent?
It's the appointment of Mr. Eric Tusing. Item number 2.
Okay, item number 2. Madam Deputy Clerk, please reflect for the record that, could you state the reason for your abstention?
Yes, Mr. Tusing worked on my campaign, so I'd like to abstain from that vote.
Thank you. So, would you please note for the record that in this unanimous consent that Councilmember Winston is abstaining from item number 2, 22-C-5143. Thank you. Any other objections? Hearing none, Madam Deputy Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent. My apologies. The parliamentarian is advising we should vote on item 22-C-5143 separately. So what we'll do is unanimous consent is regarding item 22-C-5136, 5145, 5146, 5148, 5149, and 5150. That excludes item 2. Is there any objection to unanimous consent on those items? Hearing none, Madam Deputy Clerk, please sound unanimous consent on those items. Motion is to adopt.
Unanimous consent for the motion to adopt is 9 yeas, 0 nays.
9 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt those items carries. Just for clarity, Chair Boone, could you please, I would entertain a motion to adopt 22-C-5143.
A communication from council members Liliana Batiera, Alex One, and Matt Westmoreland, Post 2 at large, appointing Mr. Eric Tusnick to serve as a member of the Atlanta Urban Design Commission in the real estate professional category. This appointment is for a term of 3 years. Motion to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt coming out of committee 22-C-5143. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt 22-C-5143.
The vote is open. All members, please vote. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. The motion carries. Just for the record, Councilmember Winston previously gave his reason for the abstention.
Item number 10, 22-R-4339, a resolution by Committee on Council appointing Ms. Lisa Ling to the nominee of the Atlanta Bar Association to serve on the governing board of the Office of the Inspector General for a term of 3 years to begin on the date of approval of this appointment and for other purposes. This item was favorable. Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt 22-0-1700. It's coming out of committee. Doesn't need a second. Any discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
Let me just restate. It's a motion to adopt 22-R-4339. 10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt passes.
Item number 12, 22-C-5045, a communication from Councilmember Byron Dean Amos, District 3, appointing Mr. Dwayne Martin to serve as a member of the Alcohol Technical Advisory Group, ATAG 3. This item was filed. Motion to file.
There's a motion to file 22-C-5045. Is there any discussion on the motion to file? Hearing none, Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to file carries.
Item number 13, 22-0-1652, a substitute ordinance by Committee on Council to amend City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, Section 62-2, precinct boundary lines and polling places by amending the 2017 precincts polling places in Fulton County precincts 1T, 7A1, 7D, 7M, and 4I due to facility undergoing renovation, returning facility to original location and relocating facility to closer proximity of voter residences and for other purposes. This item was found favorable on substitute. Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, correct?
Yes.
The motion to adopt 22-0-1652. That came out of committee favorable, is that correct?
Yes,
So
on
there's
substitute.
There's no need for a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt a substitute? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt a substitute 22-0-1652.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
Mr. President, this concludes my report.
Thank you. I'd just like to clarify one item for the record on the unanimous consent to adopt items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The count was 10 yeas, 0 nays. Just reflect for the record. Thank you.
Mr. President, was that a motion to adopt the substitute?
It was.
Should it be voted on having been substituted?
She had moved, I believe it was substituted in committee. We'll now move to items for immediate consideration. There are none, I don't believe, colleagues. So we'll move to items to be referred. Since we have a birthday, Councilmember Boone, I would offer for you to come forward first. No, you don't want to come forward first for your papers? Okay. Councilmember Norwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's ELMS ID 30987, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood to clarify the project scope of the 2015 T-SPLOST project, Moores Mill Road at West Wesley Road intersection improvements, in order to make it a 3-lane intersection and not a 4-lane intersection, and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 30987, we refer to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Shook.
Thank you. ELMS 30975 is a resolution by Shook authorizing the CFO to refund customers for overpayments to water sewer accounts in the amount of blank, all funds to be charged to and paid from, etc.
ELMS ID 30975 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Thank you. ELMS 30988 is an ordinance by Shook authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an amendment number 2 to the project management agreement with the Buckhead Community Improvement District, Inc., to authorize a continuation as the city's implementation manager, and authorize extension of time for the completion of the Peachtree Road Corridor Project, Phase 3, for a period not to exceed 18 months, retroactively effective December 31 of last year, and giving a new expiration date of June 30th of 2023, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30988 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms 30907 is an ordinance by Shook and Wan, for whom I'm reading this in, an ordinance authorizing the mayor or designee to waive the encroachment permit fee and yearly inspection fee required by the code section indicated here of the city's Code of Ordinances pursuant to an encroachment agreement with the Georgia Historical Society for the installation of a historic marker at 811 Ponce de Leon Place, as authorized by Resolution 22R3980, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30997 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
And finally, again, on behalf of Mr. Wan, Elms 30998, ordinance by Shook and Wan, amending the fiscal year 2023 general fund budget by anticipating and appropriating an amount not to exceed blank from the council president and council member carry forward accounts with a net amount of blank to be returned to the council president and council member carry forward accounts for the true up of the FY23 carry forward balances and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30998 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee. Councilmember Hillis.
Mr. President, 3 items. First is Elms 30992, introducing for Councilmember Westmoreland. An ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis and Matt Westmoreland authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $10,000.00 to the Best Academy Climbing Club at the Overlook and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30992 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms 30979, an ordinance by council members Dustin Hillis and Byron Amos to amend the 1982 City of Atlanta zoning ordinance as amended, Part 16 of the Land Development Code, so as to create Chapter 44 Upper West Side overlay and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30979 will be jointly referred to the Zoning and the ZRB.
Elms ID 30949, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis to authorize the mayor or his designee to authorize the chief financial officer to execute a master lease agreement with J.P. Morgan Chase Bank National Association for the acquisition of 60 Dodge Chargers with police packages on behalf of the Atlanta City Police Department in an amount not to exceed $2,736,970.65 and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30949 will be jointly referred to the Public Safety and Finance Exec Committees.
Thank you. That completes my items.
Thank you. Councilmember Boone. Happy birthday.
Elms number 30999, a resolution by council members Andrea Boone, Marcy Carrier Overstreet, Antonio Lewis, Howard Shook, Michael Julian Bond, and Byron Amos to request the proposed reconfiguration of neighborhood planning unit boundaries in the Southwest Atlanta quadrant submitted by the Department of City Planning be reevaluated, to request the chief operating officer of the City of Atlanta to bring any proposed reconfigurations to an immediate halt and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30999 will be referred to the Community Development Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Amos.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have several that I will be reading in on behalf of my esteemed colleague from District 4 who is out, and I mentioned his name in them. A resolution by Councilmember Byron Amos and Jason Dozier, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee, Elms number 30982, There we go. A resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos and Jason Dozier, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to prohibit parking on Glen Street Southwest from Windsor Street to Cooper Street Southwest, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install signage at the appropriate location along the prohibited area and for other purposes.
Items ID 30982 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, sir. AMS number 30983, a resolution by Councilmember Byron Amos and Jason Dozier, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to prohibit parking on Windsor Street Southwest from Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard to Glen Street Southwest, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install signage at the appropriate location along the prohibited area and for other purposes.
Items ID 30983 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
AMS number 30986, a resolution by Councilmember Byron Amos and Jason Dozier to a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Oakland Drive Southwest and Oakland Lane Southwest an all-way stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
Items ID 30986 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
AMS number 30990, an ordinance by Councilmember Byron Amos authorizing the transfer of $10,000.00 from the District 3 carry forward account to the District 3 distribution account to continue servicing the Atlanta community for public good and for other purposes.
Items ID 30990 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
A resolution, AMS number 30996, a resolution by Councilmember Byron Amos, a resolution requesting the conversion of Chapel Street Southwest from a one-way street to a two-way street and for other purposes.
Items ID 30996 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
This one. Okay. Mr. Chair, AMS number ID 30976, an ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos, an ordinance to amend the charter of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, 1996, Georgia laws, P.4, page 4469, ET, SEQ, adopted under and by virtue of the authority of the Municipal Home Room Act of 1965, OCGA Section 36-35-1, ETSEQ, as amended by amending Part 1, Chapter and related laws, Subpart A, Chapter, Appendix 4, Citizens Review Board, Section 10A, Compensation, Conflict of Interest Removal, to amend the Atlanta Citizens Review Board membership compensation and for other purposes.
Items ID 30976 will be referred to the Public Safety Committee. Thank you, Mr. Amos. Councilmember Overstreet.
Thank you, Mr. President. AMS number 30951, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement, an amendment number 2 for EAS 1210290 cost recovery and grant management consulting services with Landmark Consulting LLC in an amount not to exceed X amount of dollars. All the contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed and for other purposes.
Items ID 30951 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Thank you. AMS number 30993. An ordinance by council members Marcy Collier Overstreet, Matt Westmoreland, Dustin Hillis, Andrea Boone, Alex Wan, Amir Faroki, and Liliana Bakhtiari, authorizing a donation of an amount not to exceed $33,000 to the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta to support LGBTQ outreach and the Mayor's Youth Scholarship Program and for other purposes.
Items ID 30993 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Okay, ELMS number 30989, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet authorizing a transfer of $10,000.00 from the District 11 carry forward account to the District 11 distribution account to continue serving the Atlanta community for the public good and for other purposes.
Items ID 30989 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Okay, and ELMS ID number 3100. Seems like it's missing a number though. Okay, 31000. An ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, Andrea Boone, Antonio Lewis, Howard Shook, Michael Julian Bond, and Keisha Waits. An ordinance to amend the City of Atlanta's Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Land Development Code, Chapter 3, Planning, Article B, Neighborhood Planning, Section 6-3013A, Neighborhood Planning Units, to require the City Council approve any boundary changes to the neighborhood planning units and for other purposes.
Items ID 31000 will be referred to the Community Development Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Winston.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 6 items today. My first item, ELMS 30977, a resolution by council members Jason Winston and Liliana Bakhtiari, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Mortimer Street Southeast between Memorial Drive Southeast and Wiley Street Southeast and for other purposes.
Items ID 30977 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
ELMS 30978, a resolution by council members Jason Winston and Liliana Bakhtiari, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Newton Street Southeast and Flat Shoals Avenue Southeast an all-way stop controlled intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
Items ID 30978 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
ELMS 30994, an ordinance by council members Jason Winston and Matt Westmoreland, an ordinance to amend the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, Chapter 94, Human Relations, which prohibits discrimination throughout the city to include persons directly impacted by the criminal legal system in the class of persons who may be aggrieved by alleged discrimination or unlawful practices under the Human Relations Code in order to combat the long-term impacts of incarceration and for other purposes.
Items ID 30994 will be referred to the Public Safety Committee.
ELMS 30995, an ordinance by council members Jason Winston, Matt Westmoreland, and Jason Dozier, authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $15,000.00 to the Atlanta Community Food Bank and for other purposes.
Items ID 30995 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
ELMS 30947, an ordinance by councilmember Jason Winston, an ordinance authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate $200,000.00 to Live Thrive Atlanta, Inc. on behalf of the Department of Public Works to be used for the collection and processing of household hazardous waste, bulky trash, tires, and other hard-to-recycle items at the Center for Hard-to-Recycle Materials facility located at 1110 Hill Street, to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute a memorandum of understanding between the City of Atlanta and Live Thrive, Inc. and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 30947 will be referred to the Utilities Committee.
ELMS ID 30955, an ordinance by councilmember Jason Winston, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept and sign a grant agreement with the U.S. Department of Transportation in the amount of $16,460,000.00 for the Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity Raised Discretionary Grant to amend the fiscal year 2023 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in the amount of $16,460,000.00 and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 30955 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you, President. Elms ID 30981, a resolution by Councilmember Antonio Lewis requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Victory Drive Southwest between Sylvan Road Southwest and Evans Drive Southwest, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30981 we refer to the Transportation Committee.
Elms ID 30984, a resolution by Councilmember Antonio Lewis, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Lisburn Drive Southwest between Cahoon Street Southwest and Brewer Boulevard Southwest, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30984 we refer to the Transportation Committee.
Elms ID 30985, a resolution by Councilmember Antonio Lewis, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Catherwood Drive Southwest between Sylvan Road Southwest and the Melrose Drive Southwest, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 30985 we refer to the Transportation Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Shook, I believe you have one more.
And I thank the council president for the save there. This is Elms ID 30950, an ordinance by Shook authorizing the mayor to authorize the CFO to execute an IGA with the Buckhead Community Improvement District for the acquisition of up to 10 Dodge Chargers on behalf of APD in an amount not to exceed blank, all contracted work being charged to and paid from, etc.
Elms ID 30950 will be jointly referred to the Public Safety and Finance Exec Committees.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other personal papers that we missed?